Let's be real, being an Asian guy in the Western dating scene can feel like you're showing up to a game you were never taught how to play. Growing up, I did everything that was expected of me. I got good grades, stayed out of trouble, played hella video games, and hung out mostly with other Asian guys. Dating was off the radar after a few failed attempts in high school, and I'd just figure it out when the time came. But when that time did come in college, when I finally hopped into dating apps, I got hit with a harsh truth. None of that stalling mattered. I wasn't ready socially, emotionally, or mentally. And like a lot of Asian guys, I started asking the same questions. Is it because I'm short? Is it because I'm Asian? Do women even find guys like me attractive? It's easy to spiral deep into despair, but instead of dwelling on it long term, I forced myself to figure things out. I broke myself down, leveled myself up, and built a dating life that's not completely on my terms. And after that, I devoted myself to helping other guys do the same. This video isn't going to be a sob story or a hype reel. It's real talk from someone who started at the bottom and figured it out through trial, failure, and critical thinking. If you're tired of having all these limiting beliefs as an Asian guy, let me show you what's possible when you get to the other side. So let me take you back to where all this started. I grew up with what you'd probably call a pretty typical Asian American experience. I was raised to prioritize school, follow the rules, keep my head down, and grind. My social circle, mostly other Asian guys that played games, talked about school, and stuck to the safe space we were used to. I got really good at communicating with people like me and not with anyone outside that bubble. The problem is being in male-dominated spaces like gaming or STEM bubbles doesn't teach you how to relate emotionally or socially to women. So when dating becomes a priority later in life, a lot of guys realize they never really developed the tools to succeed here. And it didn't seem like a problem for me personally until I went to college, because that's when it hit me. I didn't know how to build real relationships with people beyond that niche. I was awkward, quiet, and unsure of myself. And when I first got into dating, I approached it with that same mindset. I thought, I'm a decent guy, I got some things going for myself, I might get something if I just show up on the apps. And funny enough, I almost did. The first match I ever got was a cute Asian girl, and we had actually set a date up. But I blew it. I acted weird and without thinking. And that first failure left a deeper mark than I expected, because things were completely disappointing for years after that. It made me question everything about myself. Was I unattractive? Was it because I was Asian? Did I blow the best chance I would ever get? See, that's where most guys get stuck. They hit that wall once, maybe twice, and start to build a whole worldview around those early failures. They think something's inherently wrong with them. But what I realized over time was that the problem wasn't me as a person. It was how I had prepared, or more accurately, didn't prepare, for dating. Like, dude, I wasn't socially developed, I didn't understand women, and I didn't understand how to present myself. And like most guys who grew up without that social conditioning, I had to build those skills from the ground up. So this is where my real journey started. Not just to become better at dating, but to become someone who actually earned good results. So here's the thing. A lot of Asian guys are smart. We're logical. We value reason, structure, and results. That's how many of us succeed in school, work, and other parts of life. We do the work and we expect a return. But that same logic, it completely breaks down when it comes to dating. Because dating isn't logical, it's emotional, it's perceptual. And if you try to approach it the same way you'd approach studying for a test or grinding for a promotion, you're going to get frustrated fast. Because that's exactly what happened to me. When I started using dating apps, I thought like this. If I swipe, I should get matches. If I don't get matches, I should swipe more. Or maybe pay for premium. That's basic input and output logic. But dating doesn't work like that. Not online, and definitely not in real life. So here's what ends up happening to guys like us. You try, you get nothing, you blame yourself, or worse, you blame society. You start thinking, I'm not white, I'm not tall, I don't look like the guys that women say they want, and then you hit one of two extremes. Number one, you try to buy the outcome. You pay for play. Dating becomes transactional. You still don't feel wanted or validated because deep down, you know you didn't earn it. Or number two, you just check out. You say, screw this, I'll just go back to doing nothing. Because if I'm getting nothing, then I might as well do the same to make the math check out. You convince yourself it's hopeless and say you're being realistic, but what you're actually doing is preserving your ego with massive cope. And even worse, once you're in that loop, other guys will encourage you to stay there. You'll find whole online communities that validate the doomer mindset because they're too afraid to change themselves. And that's where I had to break out. I started looking at myself more critically, not in a self-hating way, but with honest reflection. After every dating interaction that went sideways, I evaluated what worked up to a point and then asked myself, what exactly did I do wrong? What could I do differently? And what skill do I actually need to learn here? This shift from emotional reaction to critical analysis changed everything. Because instead of being fragile, I became flexible. Instead of blaming the algorithm or my race, I became a problem solver and started experimenting, tracking what worked and what didn't, and refining my processes. See, that's what most Asian guys don't do. They stay stuck in the logical loop. But dating and life honestly rewards adaptability, not ego preservation. If you're still stuck thinking how everything should just make sense, I get it. I used to think like that too. But until you accept how irrational dating is and learn to adapt to that, you'll just keep spinning your wheels and wondering why things never change. So once I accepted that dating didn't operate on logic, I stopped clinging to comfort and started pursuing growth. And the first thing I tackled was fitness. Why? Because no matter what mental state I was in or how much money I had, it was the one area where I could always make measurable progress. I trained for strength first and then added on the goal of aesthetics. I created my own programs, tracked my lifts, and over time I became an elite powerlifter. And after that, I got into calisthenics and achieved what most would call a top physique. And that didn't just change how I looked, it changed how I felt. And that confidence carried into everything else. But physical progress was only one side of it. The second and more important shift was how I approached self-improvement in dating. At first, every rejection stung, not because I was soft, but because I couldn't make any sense of it. I didn't understand why things failed, and that confusion led to shame. But eventually, I stopped making it personal and started making it analytical. I reviewed my messages. I thought through my conversations. I asked myself, what was working here? Where did I fumble? What patterns am I repeating that aren't getting results? And I applied that feedback to every new opportunity. I kept pushing the envelope by trying bolder moves, tweaking my profile, refining my photos, tightening my bio, and improving my openers, all with the goal of becoming a more effective, calibrated version of myself. Again, most Asian guys don't do this. They play it safe. They'd rather keep their pride than get results. They throw in minimal effort and hope that it just works out. And when it doesn't, they cry foul or blame their identity. A lot of Asian guys think their problem is effort, but it's actually that they're doing too much of the wrong thing and not enough of the right thing. They overthink instead of test. They expect a clean ROI from a few mindless swipes. But growth doesn't come from guarantees, it comes from taking risks. And so I started doing what I needed to do. I threw my ego in the trash and took full ownership of every single thing I could control. I got tired of watching logical guys stay stuck just because they refused to admit they were doing things wrong. I realized something most Asian guys never fully internalized. Dealing with women isn't logical. Dating and desire are transactional. If you keep expecting input equal output without adapting, you're just setting yourself up to fail. But if you learn, if you try, and if you critique yourself honestly, you'll grow. And that's what I did. And once I broke out of that passive mindset, everything changed. What made this journey meaningful to me isn't just that I started getting matches, dates, or play, it's that I did it while staying true to who I was as an Asian man who grew up shy, average, and invisible. I never abandoned my culture. I just refined it. I took what served me and left what didn't. My dad taught me the value of hard work and consistency. My mom taught me compassion and emotional intelligence. And I taught myself how to apply those values to the one part of life I used to feel hopeless about. Like bro, I felt like it was hard to be an Asian guy in the West, but I learned how to market myself better. Not to pander and not to pretend, but to actually show up as the best version of me in a way that resonates with women. I realized the best way to stand out wasn't to act white or overcompensate. It was to outgrow the inferiority complex that so many Asian guys carry. Once I embraced who I was and became someone worth noticing, everything clicked. And that's the real secret. When you put in the effort, not just to look better, but to understand how this world actually works, you become rare. Because most guys don't do that. Most Asian guys stay stuck in a loop of logic, resentment, ego preservation, and cope. They just want dating to make sense. They want dating to follow formulas and deliver guarantees. But this isn't calculus, dude. It's messy, emotional, and human. You're not owed anything just for existing. You get results when you earn them. And when you do earn them by working on your physique, presentation, confidence, and mindset, you stop feeling like you're playing from behind. As a matter of fact, today is the best time to be an Asian guy, as you start realizing there are real advantages if you leveled up. K-pop and Korean fashion changed the perception of Asian male attractiveness. There's more representation now than ever before in the media. Anime and Korean dramas are now socially accepted interests, and Asian-inspired looks and trends are constantly coming and going. For me personally, I've dated women of all races. I've had enough success to filter out low-quality women and not chase validation. And I did it all while staying 5'7" in the Pacific Northwest, one of the hardest places for Asian men, or so they say. My results don't just break the stereotype, they disprove the entire doomer narrative. And my dating journey has sprouted not just personal success, but external and financial success. My growth into a respected dating coach is the antithesis of the typical Asian male dating experience. I've helped men of all races all over the country, some taller than me, some earning more than me, but all still seeking clarity and strategy from me to fix their dating lives. Because this is not about genetics or luck, it's about understanding the game and playing it better than most. Sure, I've had to expend much more effort than most other guys to achieve the goals that I wanted, but my success went way beyond my own expectations, and I've achieved more than most guys will in their entire lifetimes. So if you're sitting there thinking this is just how the world is, it's not. It's how you're showing up in the world that's the problem. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. You are not powerless. You are not broken. And being an Asian guy is not a curse, unless you treat it like one. Like bro, I started with nothing. No looks, no experience, and no social advantage. Just a desire to figure it out. And yeah, it was hard, but I wanted it. I didn't want to live in resentment or let my circumstances define me, so I kept going. And slowly but surely, I became the type of person I needed all of those years ago. See, that's what's possible when you decide you're done with the excuses and done with the victim mindset and start working towards becoming the kind of guy who wins. It's not just about dating, it's about how you show up in life. Because when you grow through this, you don't just become more dateable, you become someone who's harder to ignore in every area of life. I'm talking socially, professionally, and personally. You become the kind of guy who walks in with quiet confidence because you earned it. So if you're still trying to figure things out, the question now is this: do you want it badly enough to stop coping and start doing? Because if you do and you want help, that's what I'm here for. I coach guys one-on-one through the exact same journey I went through. Everything from improving your photos and profile to refining your messaging and your mindset. If you want to skip the trial and error and finally start seeing results, you can apply to work with me through the link below. All in all, you don't need to be a Chad. You just need to be better than who you were yesterday and better than the other average guys who gave up. And if you do well enough, you can ascend to becoming a Chang yourself. So thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate you as always. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if this hits home for you. Don't forget to check out the link below if you're interested in coaching, and stay based, y'all.